I don't know what's happening recently. I spend a lot of time feeling sad and useless even if I can sit in the sun while doing it. So if you've ever been sad at the beach or hated yourself at the zoo, here are some suggestions that I am qualified to hand out. Shattered by Aphrodite Lee is about a whole bunch of things, including love, racism, and sexual assault at boarding school. I don't think it's perfect. There seem to be several instances where it slips into past tense mid-paragraph when it should be in the present, and that could be why some readers are confused about when scenes are taking place. The speed at which Aaliyah falls in love and fully commits herself to a boy she just met is a little unbelievable. Or it would be if it weren't for the book's large presence of Romeo and Juliet, which works really well as a narrative foil.
Oh, Romeo. Romeo, ¿por qué debe ser? Romeo.
Aaliyah is reckless in giving away her heart, which mirrors her love for those pesky star-crossed lovers, and that mindset is constantly at odds with the terrible relationships she sees her friends and classmates falling into. She can believe in beauty in an ugly world, and that's something to celebrate. I wasn't a huge fan of the book, but I sure as hell kept reading to see what batshit conflict was coming up. It's been weeks since I finished it, and I still think about it all the time, and thinking about that is so much better than thinking about what life is when you're feeling like this. It's kind of the perfect time to start that weird campaign you've been planning, and that sentence applies to any time of your life, really. I ran another Spelljammer game a couple of months ago which had both a sentient fireball and a skeleton with a bowler hat and Matt Berry's voice. Matt Berry is pretty much the only voice I can do, and it was the first time my regular group have really heard me do it. I'm also playing through Avernus as Beef, my favourite lizard boy. I've introduced this joke that he's suddenly way into Torm, god of duty and other Kantian virtues probably, despite the fact that it never helps with anything. It feels a little bit weird role-playing really hard, but I think you get better at it just by doing it, and when it pays off, it is really gonna pay off. Speaking of the Forgotten Realms, I read The Crystal Shard. Drizzt is pretty cool, and the absolute edgelord of a villain really works, but I don't think these books delve into themes in any great depth. Apart from Homeland, which is a really cool look into how drow, and for that matter, evil societies, whether neutral or chaotic, actually look like. So yeah, read that, but I think I'd be more likely to recommend the Mistborn series. They're longer, like, holy shit, that's a bit longer, but the resolution in the first trilogy is, so good. Yeah, that's something YouTube needs more of. Brandon Sanderson. I've managed to make 2 videos in the past however many months it has been at this point. I don't really know what time is anymore, but for me that's a breakneck pace. I don't know why it takes so long to draw the dumb frames for a video, but I do know that when I run out of ideas, I can just put a nice crab Creative Commons video in there and it'll work just as well. See, I'm doing it now. When you have to focus on the positivity of the content of a video, or the positivity of your performance in it, or even the research of something you like, that mindset helps you change your mood whether you're faking it or not. It also helps you find more things that you like. I'm kind of planning an Al-Qadim video, and I've found that Alan Varney's reviews in old copies of Dragon magazine are often really insightful and funny, and sometimes really cutting, like far more critical than you would expect for a magazine owned by the company that makes the games he reviews. Look at this. Even in its time, the Arabian Adventures rulebook fell short of perfection. Though pretty, it lacks a distinctive writing style and a sense of atmosphere. That's a pretty bold thing to say. Or this. In Missing the Chance, the sourcebook reads like some old Spelljammer adventures where PCs travel across space to another world, then go on an ordinary dungeon adventure. That's exactly what I was saying. Push me into the validation cannon and aim me at the fucking moon. So that bit at the start wasn't just a loving homage/homage to Always Sunny. Lauren Severe did send me an advanced reader copy of her book Songs of Autumn. It shows us a world where magic with a K used to be everywhere, but is now wielded by one tyrant called simply the Dragon. Our hero Liz is the latest in a long line of human sacrifices to be offered up in order to return magic to the world so that humanity will survive the winter. But she rejects her destiny, runs away, and learns to love. Can Liz change her fate? Will the dragon remain untoppled? That's the book, end of pitch. It's heavier on romance than adventure and fight scenes, but I like romance, especially teen romance, because it often hits at something true or hilarious. Eleanor and Park furiously agreeing over love will tear us apart. Hazel and Augustus watching dumb movies. Katniss obsessing over her choice between 2 boys, but nobody cares because it's literally the most boring aspect of an entire trilogy. I think the charm in romance comes from small moments of vulnerability. In John Green books, the utter gut punch of tragedy hits so hard because you've hung out with your friends for so long, and Songs of Autumn is definitely a lot of hanging out with your friends. Everything Liz, Matt, and the rest of the gang do is in defiance of their prophesized doom. They dance, they get drunk, and they live. And then there's Tia, Liz's elegant, beautiful advisor, best friend, and obviously much better suited lover. This is the first book I've ever read that's made me fully ship two characters. Tia's the best. Matt may be a hero of golden mane and staunch of courage, but Tia is right there and she's better. Book made me feel. I kind of wish the book actually ended with the final conflict instead of saving it for the sequel, and I think the verb feathering is used a little bit too much. But Lauren's passion comes through in her writing even more clearly than that bit I just said about Tia. I'll leave the link to pre-order in the description, and the book comes out for real in November. Pre-ordering books really helps their authors, so if it sounds cool to you, go ahead and do that. And there we are, 4 and only 4 completely separate and unique things for you. Let me know in the comments if you plan on doing none of them.